I hear you. I get it. I get it. Using diversity has brought, well, conflict. But did you know that is a wonderful opportunity? You're in a great space. And in this video, I'm going to give you 5 ways to harness and yield a great reward using conflict management. Conflict is your friend. Ooh. This is your first time to the YouTube channel, I want to welcome you. I'm Dr. David Glover, and it is my mission to share moments that inspire leadership and personal development. So if that's you, sit on down. Let's talk about it. You're in the right place. Hit the subscribe button and press the bell so that you're notified every time a new video comes out. You will have conflict. There will be conflict when you get people from diverse backgrounds, skill sets, perspectives, which makes a very enriching life and culture. Diversity is the fuel for ingenuity and innovation, creativity, but it comes with conflict. These 3 things we want to ground this conversation, and that is number 1, conflict is healthy. 2, conflict is inevitable. And 3, conflict is necessary. Say it again. I want you to just lift your hands and receive this, or open your mouth and confess this, that conflict is healthy, conflict is inevitable, and conflict is necessary. So the very first thing that you want to do is reframe what conflict means, how you look at it. And you need to do that, one, personally. As I always say, you lead from within. You lead with yourself first. So if you have to reframe it personally, you have to reframe it in your mind that conflict is not a thing that you should fear, is not a thing that you should avoid, but conflict is what will propel you. You have to be able to remember that conflict is a part of your everyday life. It's inescapable. You should not run from it. So you need to use it to your advantage, because conflict and conflict management can help promote you and build a better environment where people and your colleagues and your subordinates all feel safe. They all feel like conflict is not a thing that we run against, or I'm not afraid to speak if I have a different thought, a different perspective, a different way of thinking, that it is healthy, that I am privileged and I am acknowledged in this team, in this organization, even if I'm not going with the flow, if I'm not having the same mental thoughts, that it will be well received, and it may not be accepted. It may not be, we can agree to disagree, but at least I have a place that's a safe haven to make those type of statements, or to make those type of perspectives, or give my input. So you want to be able to reframe conflict and be able to think about it personally, that I do not run for conflict. I take conflict and it makes me better. And it makes me much more sensitive. It makes me much more aware that my thought, number 1, is not the only thought, that there are other thoughts that can align itself, may even be better, but that we all can put our thoughts, and it doesn't make another person inferior, and it does not actually make them better. It makes them different. And we all need that unique quality that we bring to the table, so that we can make an enriching product and enriching lives, one to another and to the customer. Now, not only should you reframe this for your own self personally, but of course you should reframe this for your team, for your organization, that they will know how to embrace it and not run from it, not be something like it's death's door, or like it's the bad taboo thing, but it's actually something to see, how can we work through this, and what can we glean from this, what all enriching soil can this help fertilize our thoughts, our objectives, and our end product, so that we are all living in a much better place. With that comes number 2, which is be a transformational leader. Now, this style of leadership is one that encourages and develops others, one that likes to take others from where they are and transform them into the best them. And we all would like to think that we at least have a small part or big part of transformational leadership style within us, that people are better because they've met us or because they were under our tutelage or in our sphere. So being able to foster ethical environments with clear standards and values, being able to foster ethical work environments with clear values and standards, all falls under the line and the gauge of being a transformational leader. Well, when you do that, you automatically open up the wealth of who that person is and accept them for who they are, and try to nurture and build that part of them that will transform them into a better them. That automatically puts you in a diverse atmosphere, because each person is unique and different and their strengths are different. So by you working with each one of them causes diversity to automatically burgeon into your culture. So number two is simply learning how to be a good transformational leader that will impact each person's life, and then by way impact productivity, by way impact creativity, by way impact ingenuity. So be a transformational leader. Do it today. Number three is simply be intentional about inclusion. What does that mean? Because we always hear diversity and inclusion, but they're not a package deal. Because you can clearly have a diverse group of people, but not include everybody. So everybody's welcomed to the table, but they're not welcomed while at the table. So being intentional to get everyone's input, to hear everybody's background, thought, perspective will be an enriching. And I always, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I've always talked about this pot of soup where you always put everyone's ingredients in, and it makes a better tasting soup, a more enriching, fuller flavor. Well, you want to have that. You want to be able to do that, but you have to include everybody, and you have to be intentional. Now in my book, shameless plug, in my book, I talk about number one, team formation. That is having everybody come, or picking the right people to form a group to come to the table that is diverse, is being intentional on that. But sometimes you inherit a group. So then you have to be able to ebb and flow through the facilitation, which is also in my book, The Art of Facilitation, to be able to make sure that every voice is heard. Because of course, you're going to have those who like and have more domineering thoughts and behavior patterns. So you want to be able to utilize that, but also not to forget the person that's back in the corner that's not saying anything, because they have learned, whether just in their own life or in this particular culture, that they don't always seem to be appreciated. You have to learn how to give them confidence, how to let your influence rub off to make them be able to shine and have voice and have reason to exist. It will greatly impact their work ethic, their loyalty to you, and their buy-in to the whole project, if you're doing a project, or to the goal, or to the team. So being intentional is number three. Number four. Number four is to reproduce after your own kind, which kind of takes you back to a transformational leadership. But in this, you're very intentional about, if you're a senior leader and you have mid-managers, that you're doing the same thing. You're cultivating them the same way to be able to reproduce how you believe life should be a diverse, enriching experience. So you're teaching them how to manage diversity, how to deal with conflict, how to make sure that they replicate the same standards and values that you have on their level. But not only that, even if your subordinates, each team member, that you're empowering them, that you're equipping them, that you're giving them what you have to be able to do the same thing in your absence. If they had to step forward because you no longer are available, they can do it with ease. They can do it with the same conscientiousness that you have about being diverse, about utilizing and including everybody. You want to be able to reproduce after your own kind. So you may want to give tasks that put them over, but that see how they use diversity. How did you include everybody? And let that grow, let that embed itself into their psyche, into their work behavior, into their performance, and make that one of the metrics. On the rubric is how did you include, how did we practice diversity and ethical performance in executing whatever the assignment and task was. Okay, so you want to be able to reproduce after your own kind. Number five. All of this is wonderful, and a lot of it is soft skills and a mindset and a shifting of perspective, but you still do not want to negate to have written procedures of how you handle conflict. And in my book, upside down, in my book, I speak about how to go about managing conflict as a written, and sometimes it's a case by case, but you still want to have a standardized way of how we bring conflict to the table. How do we go, our methodology of how we handle conflict when it arises? Because again, what are the three things that we said earlier? Conflict is what? Inevitable, necessary, and healthy, right? So since we know it's going to happen, we need to prepare for it. We don't want to be reactionary. We want to do our work beforehand, have the procedures done beforehand so that we can implement them. And if they need to change because of certain situations that we see, then we change them and make the amendments as we go along. But you always want to have a certain way, a certain style, best method, best practice on how you deal with conflict. I hope that this has helped you, enriched you, and enabled you, mostly ennobilized you.